Bonjour tout le monde, bienvenue à notre deuxième épisode de Panggul Kendang, cette nouvelle série hebdomadaire à propos de la musique balinaise, pour accompagner nos musiciens dans leur isolation, mais aussi pour ouvrir à notre public plus large. Aujourd'hui, deuxième épisode, je vais recevoir Arya, qui est notre compositeur en résidence, qui fait sa maîtrise à l'Université de Montréal en ce moment. Pour faciliter la conversation, on va passer à l'anglais pour pouvoir avoir plus de facilité dans nos échanges. Mais j'espère que vous allez apprécier. Je vous encourage fortement cette semaine, plus que tout, à nous poser des questions dans les chats parce qu'on va avoir une conversation sur toutes sortes de sujets, mais d'abord et avant tout, on veut aussi répondre aux questions que vous avez peut-être sur différents concepts de la musique balinaise. Donc, sans plus attendre, je vais faire rentrer Arya dans notre conversation. Hello, Arya.
Bonjour tout le monde.
Just add a little background. So,
j'espère que vous êtes... Oui.
Okay, let me just switch here. Donc, okay. So, Arya, the purpose for tonight is to talk about a bunch of small things about Balinese music that when we're practicing our regular repertoire, we don't necessarily have the time to go in detail. And there's a lot of stuff, I think, that over the years, I've noticed that a lot of our musicians don't necessarily know, not because they're not interested, but because, well, you know, we don't always have the time in practice to discuss these things. So let's start by some basic stuff. It might seem a bit weird to start by the names of the note, but I think that a lot of our members are not even sure about that. So let's maybe you can talk to us a bit about just the Balinese notation, basically. What is it?
Okay, for Balinese, but for that I would like to respond your in Giri, like, because we never have time to talk about gamelan. But for me, in my opinion, it's not if you like talk like in the theory of the gamelan. Like, the most important is you listen gamelan a lot and practice.
Yeah.
So like because gamelan theory is came from, I didn't know until now. I don't know much about theory, but the first thing that I knew, like, I played the gamelan, just play and listen gamelan a lot, because in Bali, like, you can hear gamelan everywhere. Yeah, that's it. So about the,
I think it's important, like what you say
about the scale and or the notation in gamelan. Sorry.
No, I mean, I think there's a bit of a delay between us, so it might be a bit weird at first until we get used to it. But I think it's important what you say, like, first and foremost, it's listening to the music, and you understand it through that. I think is important to stay, again, to everyone, to our musicians in particular, but to anyone listening. Like, it's not because you don't we often hear that from people that come to concerts and they say, I don't know if I understand this music. And I find that answer interesting. Like, why do you need to think that you understand it to appreciate and to learn the music? I think what you say is important, even from that perspective, that's how you learn yourself, like, before even learning theory.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like for gamelan, especially like when you try to explain the gamelan is very difficult. Like for me as well, like because in gamelan there are a lot of like improvisation and look for the cue of the kendang player. So when you explain one thing, like make one definition of the gamelan concept, that's very difficult because like in gamelan is there are many concepts, and like in Bali the gamelan is different between North Bali, South Bali, and everywhere. So yeah, gamelan develop depends the place and depend of the people question as well. So yeah.
I think that's actually also. I mean, eventually we'll get to what we want to talk about, but I think that's also important to say. Like, there's a lot of different gamelan in Bali itself, like different region and all that. And what we're saying today, whatever we're going to talk about today, I think everything needs to be taken with a bit of a grain of salt, you know, because like what we're saying is based on what I know, what you know from where you grew up and learned gamelan. I'm guessing it might be different. You talk to someone else in the north, for example, which is a typical example because they have a very different way of seeing the music, and they would give us a different answer. So I think it's important to like everyone take whatever we say tonight with a bit of a grain of salt because it's a fluid. I think it's a fluid knowledge.
Yeah, but the important thing is like even though the gamelan is like very different, like everyone different, but it doesn't mean you can make whatever you want in gamelan. Yeah, you cannot make like you make a new style. Maybe you could, but it will be like weird if you make a new style and then you change the like the kotekan or something like that. If for me, like when I teach or play gamelan, I will adjust where I play and with who I play. So when I listen, for example, people who don't know the piece and try to make his own style, I can feel like it's weird. It doesn't like common like that. It's like yeah, I can feel like that. But yeah, it's depend of the experience, like to listen, to play. Yeah, that's very important for gamelan.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so well, let's talk a bit about the notes, I guess. Just basic knowledge, gamelan 101.
So about the note on gamelan, let's pelog. So in gamelan, there are two. Thank you. So there are two of sai in this moment. So yeah, before we start from the say about the patet and laras, before that laras is the word is from the word from Java. So in Bali, before laras used in gamelan, we sai. So for the laras lendro, which is in gender instrument, we call it sai gender.
Yeah.
So in Bali, very common sai gender. And then for the gong kebiar, that what we have in Giri, that in right now we call it laras pelog 5 notes or pelog 5 nada. So before that in Bali we sai gong, that means gong, like gong kebiar. And then for the seventh note, dialogue seventh note, we call it sai gambang.
Okay.
In gambang, they are seven note.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but right now in like, gamelan knowledge, we call it laras slendro for the sai gender, laras pelog for the five notes pelog, and then laras pelog for the seven note
That's interesting.
pelog as well.
No, that's interesting because I always wondered why in Selonding, for example, we say like I don't remember by heart, but what was it? The Sai. I had a bunch of them, but you know, like the different modes, the different pate of Selonding all have the Sai before them in the way that they're described, and I'm guessing that's because it's an older instrument, right? And so it's interesting. I never knew that actually.
Yeah. Also in gambang, there are different size for the patet. Yeah, it's confusing about size and patet. Like so patet for the mode for the size and then laras for the sai. So sai we call it for laras as well, and then sai we call it for the.
That's why.
Yeah. Yeah, we use it for both.
Yeah.
So about the note in gong kebiar. So is five note. We start from the gangsa. We take the gangsa for example. So in gangsa it start from dong, and then second note is dang, dung, dang, and ding, and then dong, higher dong, dang, dung, dang, ding. Yeah. So in gangsa, so deung and daing, there is no in there is no in the gong kebiar. So only five notes. So
because the full pelog is 7 notes, right? But most Balinese, not all, but most of the Balinese repertoire or the different pate use only 5 notes, right? And so there will always be 2 notes that are missing, sort of, in the different.
Sometimes we don't use that because for example we only sing like 5 notes. Ding dong ding dong dang, whatever the patet.
Whatever the
patet, ding dong ding dong dang. Yeah.
Which is useful because it makes
for the sorry.
I was saying it's useful because it makes it easy to transpose a piece from one ensemble to the other, and it'll sound completely different, but it's the same 5 notes. They just sound different.
Yes. So for the slendro, for the slendro, we take the example of gender wayang. Yeah, for the gender wayang is the notes, the notes, the name of the notes. For the gender wayang, still like until now, people say many things like Pak Subandi. Pak Subandi is the composer and my teacher from Batuyang Gianyar. He says gender wayang start from dong.
Oh yeah, the first note.
Dong. The first note start from dong.
Okay.
And then some people say it start from dang, and the other people say start from dang. So
Yeah. I think I heard the one I heard was start from deng, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, for me when I play, yeah, when I play the gender, I sometimes I hear it the first note is dang, and then sometimes I hear it the first note is dang. So it's depend for the piece that I play. Yeah, so like different mood and different result. Because sometimes for the first note, if we say that has a dang, it makes sense if we feel it as a dang as well, because after dang, we cross one note, we skip one note. After dang, we skip one note, and then the for this ding. So if we call it the first note is dang, it makes sense, because after dang we skip one note as well. So depends the
so it's the same. I
so
see what you
depends
mean. So if I can we can explain, because the note that gets skipped, right, is there's a note that gets skipped here in between deng and dung in the full scale, and there's the same thing that happens in between dang and ding. So it's the place where there's the same sort of relationship of skipping a note. So that's interesting.
Yes. Yeah, but if we call it gender start from dong, that's for me, like I don't feel it start from dong, but like many people say it start from dong. Because when I make the suling, when I make a suling, the first note it will be dang. If we keep the concept of the 3 and 2 notes, 3 we skip one note, and 2 skip one note. For the suling, for example, when we play the gender, gender, for example, so if we say that the first note is dang, this will be dang, and then the second note skip one note, open two. So one note, the other note, and the second note. So dang, ding, dong, dong, dang, and then after dang, we skip one note, dong. So this makes sense when we when we make a suling. But for if we said it dong, is I don't know. I never seen suling for the gender like dong, dang, dong, like dong, dang. The first note, and then in the suling you don't skip one note. And I've never seen, maybe there is like that, but when I make, because my friend is suling maker, so he said like the first note you have to skip one note to adjust with the suling.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's
for the gender, that's the situation. The note. And then for the side Putu, how you sing the note, maybe we the mode tableau. Yeah, for the side Putu, side Putu, let's say is gamelan semar pegulingan. So gamelan semar pegulingan has 7 notes in the gangsa instrument.
Yeah.
So ding, dong, dang, deung, dong, dang, dang. So that's the full gangsa.
Yeah.
In the
full
patat
7
level.
note gangsa. Yeah.
Yeah. When you use all of the note for the mode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So and then patat slisir, you can see.
Patat
The
Silisir is
first
the
note,
one
if,
that
of course,
we're the most used to because it's the one of standard Gonkebiar mode, basically.
yeah, the feel like gong kebiar.
Yeah.
Feel like gong kebiar. So the slisir ding dong dang, and then tujur on skip one note after dang dong dang, and then dang. But for the slisir, the kotekan pattern, we usually use dying for the sangse.
Okay.
Yeah, when the polos play, so sometimes people use na ne na ne na ne na ne na ne na ne.
Yeah.
So it make more note and more rich. the
Okay.
the
Yeah. When you're playing on a full, you mean when you're playing on a full like a Samaradana ensemble, right?
Sumapulingan.
Samapugungan. Yeah. 7 notes. Yeah. Interesting.
And then, but also for the Samaradano, you can play nane nane nane, but in Samaradano you have the higher note. The higher note you have, so it's possible you play nang ding nang ding nang ding. You can play higher ding in the Smarandana.
Oh. Yeah. That's true. Yeah, you have the higher ding. Yeah.
Higher ding is Smarandano. It's like gong kebiar.
Yeah. Maybe like the best thing we could do is you sent me a couple of links to different examples, and maybe for the different pate, like I think we have an example for every pate in the list. So I think maybe that would be a nice for the listener. It might be a bit more concrete than. So let me just remove this here, and let me just sorry, my mistake. There was a little bug in the sound. It was not working right. So I'm going to repeat what I just said because no one heard it. So the first example is Silicir.
Yeah.
But it's being played on a Semapiguligan ensemble, I think.
Yeah.
So if I go here, oh, my mistake again. Technology is not going well today. That share audio. Okay. Now it should work. There we go. So this is the standard scale that we're used to hearing when we play the Gonkebiar, even though it's on a Semapeguligan set, so it sounds a little bit different. There's a bit of a sweeter sound, which is typical of that ensemble. But it's the same notes that we're used to. After that, we have the other example you sent me. And I think this is okay. We'll remove the little intro sound. So at the beginning, you were telling me it's
Tembung.
Tembung. It's very interesting because it sounds right away. We hear like it has a different sound, a different feeling because it's not the same interval that we're used. I'm speaking for myself because the most experience I have, right, is with the Gonkebiao. So, like, And then you were saying that I think it's later on, it switches to Lebeng, which has all 7 notes, right? I'm going to see if I can find a... Oops. I think there's a publicity that's going to load again. Yeah.
Lebeng.
Skip the publicity. Okay. This is Lebeng, right? There's more notes.
It's still
Tempo?
It's still Tempo. Yeah, maybe go more.
Yeah.
When there is primero, more note. When the faster tempo. Almost, yeah. Okay,
yeah.
Good. You can hear right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Wow.
It's still tembung. Tembung again. It's put primero. It's we can say it lebeng.
It's interesting. It's interesting that it switches back and forth in the same piece. Is that something that the Semapeguligan does often? Like, I'm curious. I don't know it very well, so.
Sorry?
Like switching different pate within the same piece. Is this something that happens a lot in Semapeguligan, or because I'm just curious.
This switch the patat, you mean?
Yeah, if it's common, if it happens a lot.
Okay, I think before Semar Pegulingan, like mostly the piece in Semar Pegulingan is came from Gambuh.
Okay.
From Gambuh repertoire. So
Yeah,
it's like
I remember hearing that at some
yeah,
point.
I think Langsing Tuban is came from Gambuh, and also what with Giri, what was that? Godek Miring.
Godek
So
Miring.
play in Semar Pegulingan, but also it came from Gambuh.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was studying at in EC, Anyar for the Semar Pegulingan.
Mm-hmm.
Anyar or Gamelan Gambuh Anyar. It's like because we played the Gambuh piece in the Semar Pegulingan. Katakan. Yeah.
Interesting. Let's go to the next one. So this, I think, is Slendro Gede. Maybe before I play it, can you explain to us why it's called Slendro? If we're in a pelog.
Yeah, that's the thing. When we call it Slendro, because one of my teacher at EC says about the name in gamelan, about the name in patat is still like it's not clear. Like for me, it's not clear why, because I received many name of the patat, and also all of them is different, because in Bali before we use, like in common we use only three patat. Patat Selisir, patat Tembung, and patat Sunaren. So in gamelan we like in gen three patat, and then after that, like I think people in academic the name for that. I don't know. Is was the that yeah. So
I think I heard. I don't remember
why
where, but I think I remember hearing that.
Why?
I think I'm sorry. I think I remember hearing that Slendro Gede was kind of trying to imitate the Gender Wayang Slendro, even though like it's Pelog, so it's not going to sound the same because the intervals are completely different. But it was a bit trying to imitate it. So I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's, sometimes people have definitions, but in practice we don't really because I'm going to play the excerpt and it sounds nothing like Gender. So like I don't think, but maybe that was the original reasoning. I don't know.
Yeah, but the patat that close for the Slendro is the Baro, patat Baro.
Yeah, actually, the patat Baro is very similar to Angklung, which is we'll have an excerpt of that as well. But yeah,
that's why I think Pak Subandi transfer the gamelan gamelan Gender Wayang piece to the Semar Pegulingan.
Okay.
Sejak Mulut. I think I send you the link for that.
We have the link also for that.
So that use patat Baro.
So maybe we can start by just listening to the Slendro Gede, and then after that we'll
Baro. Slendro Gede.
Gede first, yeah, because that's the order they are in my list. Wow, it's really, it feels so different.
It's a,
Huh. It's very, I don't know how to describe it exactly, but yeah, go ahead.
it is Sunaren.
That's
Sunaren.
Sunaren?
Uh-huh. We can hear it from the gangster.
Okay.
What they play for the lowest note. Sunaren.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, we start for the Slendro Gede.
Okay.
We start with Slendro Gede. Yeah, the lowest note is D. Yeah. And then,
Interesting.
Yeah. Kupu-kupu kuning was who I think Pak Subandi composed the kupu-kupu kuning.
Yeah. Let's
Yeah,
try.
it's always change the pattern. It's difficult to give the example.
So this one people will recognize from our group anyway as being the pate that sounds like angklung.
Yeah.
That's nice. It's important. I think it's important just to specify, like, because I think it can be a bit confusing at first, especially for people. Like, this is not an angklung ensemble. This is a sema-piglingan. This is playing on a pelog that sounds like angklung. A real angklung set is actually using slendro, which is a completely different scale with different interval relation. But it's interesting that you can get the same sound in pelog. I don't know if that was is actually, do you know, is pelog older than slendro, or is it the other way around, or are they about? I mean, is there any knowledge on this? I think we lost you a bit.
But are you hearing me?
Yeah, now I hear you. Sorry.
Okay. So I think that I don't know about which one is log and slendro, but if we is will considering the the type of the gamelan, like all gamelan, so it on they are both of them. So in all gamelan,
Interesting.
in the all gamelan, and then gambang type of all gamelan as well. So if we maybe same time, or yeah, we don't know which one is.
Yeah, it's true, I guess, because if I'm thinking about it, like if we're thinking about the older, at least for Balinese, as far as I know, like the older ensemble, like Selonding is this kind of sort of a pelog style scale. The Gambu is pelog, right? Also, but Angklung and Gendera, Slendor, and those are all older instruments ensemble. So, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's just see. We had another example. So actually, if I go back to because that's interesting, I think we'll come back to the example. What I want to do is just go back to this here. And basically, maybe we can just look at the last two modes before we play the example. Maybe you can explain a bit what the pengeder pate are.
Oh, pengentaralit and pengentaragong. Yeah, I think pengentaralit is like very, for me, sometimes I cannot realize which one is pengentaralit and pengentaragong. Like I cannot sing which one is dang. Is that the lowest that dang or dong? For me, it's very yeah, pengentaralit and pengentaragang. But for the slisir, for example, I can realize it, like, oh, the first note is ding.
Yeah.
I think also pengentaralit and pengentaragang is not a traditional piece. So
I think like if I can explain, like basically, like you said a bit earlier, maybe people missed it, but traditionally there's only really 3 patet that are used in most gamelan repertoire, which is the selisir, the tembung, and sunaren. And the other patet basically, I think, evolved as people started exploring different combinations of notes in the full pelog scale. And I think from what I remember hearing is that the both pengeder alit and agung basically are sort of what was left of the combinations. Like there was all these different pate, and then there was these 2 sort of missing combination where why not, let's do them if it's sort of the missing notes.
Yeah, because it's possible because it's possible to make full fatat, like with set based on 3 and 2 note. 3 and skip 1 note and 2 note. Yeah. Because of that, people like make another patet again. But yeah, interesting for me. Like pengentar alit and pengentar agung is for in this time, like people like use pengentar alit, pengentar agung, and because the sound is interesting. The sound is like, we call it manis, like sweet, and weird, like weird and
maybe we can
like
listen actually. Let's just remove this and go back to our.
Para penonton yang berbahagia, selanjutnya
again the intro. Skip the intro. Let's go like somewhere directly in the not the middle, but. So I think you said. I like how it's kind of hard to predict where it's going because it's an unusual. Oh, I think we lost Arya. Are you there? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because it's kind of hard to predict in which direction the music is going because it's like the intervals are a bit feel different, right? So yeah. But was that all? Like what I just played, is that all? What was it? Pengeteralit?
This one, I think they played the pengentaralit and pengetaragang.
Okay, they do both. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. What else I played in that piece?
Yeah. Can we see you?
To better. Yeah, in the. Yeah. Yeah. It's my group play when we were in PKB.
That's fun.
Yeah. Abang.
It's yeah, that's cool. It's interesting to hear such a different sounding. I think maybe so that rounds up basically the standard pate found in Balinese music. We've been using the term since the beginning. Maybe we should just explain what, like, a pate basically is a little bit like in Western music. I know I know there are people out there that are going to cringe at what I'm about to say, but a pate is a little bit like in Western music what we call a mode, basically, right? So it's not a scale per se. It's a derivation. It's a sort of an interpretation of a scale in a certain way. And so, like what you said, la race, which would be, I guess, closest to what we would call. Again, I know people are going to cringe out there, but a scale, basically, when we say like the Pelog scale, it's the full scale. Yeah. That's the la race, basically, and the pate is the sub organization of the la race, which is like to a lot of Western musicians, the closest would be thinking of it as a mode. Or actually, I guess no, a la race is not really a scale. It's more sort of a. It's basically just the notes, the Western, the equivalent to our 12-tone Western scale. Yeah, it's the tuning in a way. Yeah. And so I guess that's why it's complicated. I knew I was getting into a tricky subject by saying that. Okay. I think this is related, obviously, but we're already at like 52 minutes now, so I think we should keep going into that direction. And there's a bunch of other subjects I wanted to discuss with you, but I think we should keep that for a separate, for another conversation. I think maybe what we should do now is just talk about, this is something I find interesting, Balinese notation. We keep telling people that Balinese don't have notation. That's a common phrase that gets thrown around a lot in conversation. People because it's true that we don't use sheet music to teach or to learn. That is correct, right? We all know that in our group. We all listen and imitate and play by that way of transmission. But there is actually a way of notating Balinese music. Can you explain a bit, what the idea is or how it works? Basically, we saw at the beginning.
Yeah.
I can just go back to the symbol. Well, you can start explaining if you want. I'm just going to pull up the chart again.
Yeah. Balinese gamelan notation, just for remember the piece, and then for the documentary,
it's basically archiving, right?
We don't use to play the piece. So I think because if we play Trunajaya with notation is very.
I don't think that would work. I think people would get lost in turning pages and. But so
and
basically,
and also with the cue. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
And also with the cue, like when we play baris, we don't know where is the ansel, where is you supposed to stop. So if you focus on the notation, you will lose the cue. It's important if you see and hear the kendang and then or the cue from the kendang. Pendang jual gamelan. So I think when we use notation just for remember and for analyze as well.
That's interesting to analyze as well, because the notation. Well, actually, let's pull up an example just for people. Let's look at. Let's see, this part here, for example, and let me just make it a bit bigger so we see a bit clearer. Yeah. So this would be a typical, what I've seen before, anyways, in terms of Balinese notation. Can you explain a bit what we're looking at?
Yeah. So here we use patat selisir, but we use the pomero when we use more than 5 notes.
Yeah.
So and then the dot is the tempo, not tempo exactly, the value. So it will be if you read this notation, it will be ne no na 1 2 ne no ne ne no na no. Sorry, I think it's better if I play with singing. Yeah, something like that.
Interesting. Yeah. So basically, I think I knew this, but it's also a bit obvious from looking at the notation. But it's the melody. It's only the melody, right? So whatever else is happening on top of it, you kind of have to figure it out, I guess. How does that work? Like you just know what to do?
Honestly, I played this piece before, but I do remember. But when I just knew, like I read the notation and then I remember the melody. So I tried a little bit, like in the first 6 note. I tried to read that, and then I remember the melody.
Yeah.
So from that 6 note, I can remember the melody because I played it before, and also I heard that before. So that's a purpose of the notation. You can remember from that.
Yeah. That's why it's. But I'm curious, like, is it used in any way? Like, let's say you're a composer, Arya. So do you use notation to compose, or really just to remember?
Okay. For now, I use notation as well, and then I try to use the notation. So for me personality, I like try to compose with many ways.
Yeah, of course.
That's what. Yeah. So basically, I when I was like in high school, I try to compose without notation.
Okay.
So without notation, but for like now we call it like new music, make new music for gamelan. I use the notation to make a form and like weird kotekan, something like that. But yeah, I try both of them.
Yeah, interesting. I just want to point out, because people might have missed it, but you just mentioned in passing that you were composing in high school. So I just think that's worth repeating again. Not everyone composes in high school. Not here, anyways.
Oh, okay.
Actually, there's a good question I just saw in the chat that's related to this. I'm going to put it on screen here. So, like you just said, like, okay, you read this and you know the piece, you played it, so you were able to remember it. But what if you come across like a notation like this, and you've never heard it before? How do you know the rest of the piece? Like, you have the melody, okay, but how do you know the rest? Or you don't? You have to sort of make it up? Like, I'm curious.
Yeah, for this notation, like it's more like kreasi baru. Of course, I will not know what is the rest of the ensemble.
Yeah.
Except they said here is the melody or with kotekan, something like that. But for this piece, it is the, I think, for suling tunggal, like for the solo suling.
Yeah, I think like it said here actually is a good example, because it kind of says like the
kebiar,
like it tells you
let's
the different parts.
Yeah, let's say the kebiar. Dang, ding, ding, da, dong, ding, ding, dong, da, na, na. So for the rest of the ensemble, I can recognize how you play the jegog, how you play the riong and the kendang with not just the melody, but for the only for the bass melody, like in the normal tempo like that. Yeah, I don't know what is going on.
Yeah, I think we're saying, like, I think you sent me this example. I think is more traditional, like, right?
Yeah, traditional. Right? Okay, it's good.
And so here, because it's traditional, you know what goes with the melody. You don't need anything else. You know what kind of piece it is, and then you can figure it out. Like,
yeah, for the tabutlu, if like it is traditional tabutlu, I think I can figure it out the rest of the pattern, the instrument. So for this one, it's very like basic melody, like no now dang 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 dong dang der. So if you make the melody inside of those two notes, no 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 do no do den 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 do na do der do 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 na den na do den 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 do na do den den do na den na do der den do na den do na den den do na do den den do na den na do last do na den den na do na den do den. Yeah, for the melody, like for the melody of lelambatan, is the same, like almost similar similar melody. For example, den den don delong, it's used the no-rap melody. Den den don delong don den do na den do na do, something like that. So you can recognize the rest of the melody because of the like common in the tabut lelambatan.
Yeah, which is, I guess, why like you can figure it out basically with this, because it's going from, like, if I can explain a bit for the people, what you just did when you added note is basically like that you have to come back on these notes and then whatever, there's just so many things you can do in between to be able to go back to that note. So it's not that like in some case it'll always be the same thing no matter what, because you're going from this note to that note, so it'll always be that kind of variation. And I guess that's also why from one group to another you might have slight differences, because they might decide to go up when others decide to go down to go to the next note. So I guess that's am I right? Is that correct? Or am I just making stuff up?
Yeah. yeah. So yeah, you can make the willet with the traditional melody. So which is there is noret or nerot and ngembat, something like that in the trompong when you play dan dong dan dilong dong da tong. You can use that technique to make the melody. For example, the first bar, so there are two dum. So you can play one dong one dong one dong dong ding dong dong. Sorry, my voice. Dong dong dong. Dong 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 ding dong ding dong dong. So I will repeat it. So dong dong ding dong. Sorry, gong from here. Gong dong ding dong ding dong that and dong dong ding dong ding dong that dong, something like that. You can use that to make the melody, or dong 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 delor, something like that, or dong da dong dang dong that dong. That's it. There is ngaca when you play that dong. That's a technique to make a make a papayasan, we call in Bali, like like the make a melody. So yeah, that's another sample. Or what else? Dong 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 dang dong dang dong dang dong dong.
So it's basically, because I'm seeing in the chat also a good commentary about that. But it's basically like there's different idioms, like there's different ways that things can. There's like different motifs, traditional motifs, and it's basically a question of choosing the one that you want to use on the melody, on that segment of the melody, right? Which is the difference between different interpretation, basically, or different villages or different areas.
For the traditional, like for the lambatan, for the lambatan is good example for that.
Interesting. I'm wondering, like, I'm curious, like, how. So when as a young Balinese learning to play gamelan, when do you become aware of notation? Like, is it something that you learn only much later, or is it something that you kind of know at the beginning? Like, I'm curious, at what point are you taught about these things?
Oh, I know the notation when I was in high school.
Okay. And just for our audience,
already played the gamelan.
For how long? Just for our audience. When did you start playing gamelan?
Start gamelan?
Yeah.
I was saying I knew the Balinese notation when I was in high school.
Yeah, but I'm saying for our audience, just so they know, when did you start learning Balinese music?
When I was playgroup. How you said it? Playgroup. TK. Oh, I forgot the word in French. Playground. No, before elementary school.
Before
like
elementary
when I was
playground.
Yeah. Playground.
Yeah. So you had a long time of playing music before you ever started learning about notation and stuff like that. Interesting.
Yeah. For me, it's important is just play and listen, like what I said before.
I'm curious what you think about this. Is more a question like how we teach gamelan, at least in Giri, and I can assume to some extent from what I know that we're not the only one to do it this way, but we don't often use the names of the notes to teach the music. Like we often tend to refer to notes as numbers, right? Like when we're teaching the melody, we're not teaching them like ging gong gang, we're teaching them 1 2 3. I'm curious to know what you think about that. Like, should we spend more time with musicians actually, instead of using 1 2 3, like getting them to learn the names of the notes? Or like, I'm curious what you think about that.
Yeah, for me, it's like for this context, I think depend on you because why? Because if you wanna learn more, of course, it's better if you sing with ding dong dang dung da. But if you like comfortable with the 1 2 3, it's okay. But maybe you will not. You cannot sing you cannot sing it like
That's
in Balinese.
yeah. That's one thing that I never thought before until I started paying attention to it. Like when I took over Giri from Eric, like that's when I started paying attention to these kinds of things, and that's when I started noticing, like, for example, Deva Super in our group, like when he's remembering a piece, he's singing the notes in his mind. And I know you do the same thing, and something that I never noticed before. And I realized, well, that's true. Like we could teach the musicians in that way. Like we could teach them. It's easier to remember the melody when you're singing the note, the Balinese notes, than when you're thinking of it as numbers. And I find that interesting. I guess it's faster to teach with numbers because people don't have to remember which number, what note is what on the keyboard. Like it might be a little bit difficult at first to trying to remember like that dang is fa is the fifth note on the chalung. It's interesting, like what you say, like because you can't sing numbers. I always find interesting, like when you just sing, because typically what I've heard, like Balinese don't sing ding, they'll sing ing, like just the vowel sound, right? Am I correct?
Ding, ding, dong, ding, dong, ding, dong, ding, dong, ding. Yeah, we use they.
Yeah.
They, well, ding, dong, ding, or re, ro, re, ring. We use R.
So basically, but what I'm hearing is that you're using predominantly what I'm hearing is the vowel sound, like the I,
the vowel,
and like when you sing that, it almost, you kind of hear the melody on itself, like you don't have to know solfège, you don't have to be on the pitch, you just sing the letters, and you kind of hear the melody, right? And I've always found that interesting.
I think if you sing with the Balinese way, it will be easier to realize the pattern, because that will be like clear, more clear if you sing the ding dong ding dong ding dong ding. I don't know. For me, it's easier if you can sing with ding dong ding dong dang to realize the pattern and to recognize them. So
I guess, I mean, we're a bit biased because we're saying this as both, like you have obviously much more than me, but even me as someone who's been doing this for a little while, like we know the sound, like we've heard it enough. It's, I guess, maybe like for someone who's just learning it all, maybe it all sounds the same when you're saying like between dung and dang, like maybe it's like too subtle for someone who's just learning. I don't know. It's an interesting question, actually. I think, like, why
dung or dong, dong. I think because the vowel.
Yeah, it's a bit, like I get it. It's a bit similar, right? But it's interesting.
If you can sing dong dang dong dang, is good for you, like to communicate with Balinese, like get faster. It's like like for me here, like I receive a lot of vocabulary here. So music vocabulary, like this, the concept is almost the same, but it make you faster to explain something. You don't have to make like one sentence to explain one thing. If you like agree,
if you like,
this we call thing.
Yeah.
I
mean, I guess
maybe. Sorry.
No, I mean, you're right. I mean, I think it's worth taking the time to kind of learn that, right? Like, I guess this is on me. Like, as a director, I should teach the musicians in Giri to do that. But like, I mean, of course, it might sound a bit the same at first, but like, if you've never done solfège in your life, like for a Western musician, you're probably going to have notes that sound the same when you're trying to sing. When you're trying to sing notes in the Western scale, like if you're not used to it, so you learn basically to make them sound right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Something that we should.
If you want to learn, it's better if you learn because yeah, but I know that just the just how you pronounce that. I mean, it's that important, but it's more important if you play the gamelan for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then feel it. Yeah.
Of course, I mean, ultimately the goal is to play the music, and if you get to play it, and if you learn it through numbers or through just hearing it, then that's good too. And just we should encourage people more to learn the notes, just to sing them. It makes remembering melodies a lot easier. I think you're right. Eventually, anyways. Let me just go in my notes here. I think I'm just looking at some. I'm looking at the chat to see if there's any interesting question related to all that. I followed with my eyes on the side just to keep an eye on things, but there's been a lot of comment on tuning. I can see. And I don't think we necessarily go into that right now. I can say that I'm looking at maybe doing one of these episodes specifically on tuning of the gamelan. This is something that I'm very interested in. So maybe we'll have guests on to discuss this eventually. So I'll skip over a lot of those comments, but there's been a lot of very interesting discussion about like how gamelans are tuned and all that. It's very interesting. Let's see what we have here.
I think I saw a question about how you recognize the pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw that. Yeah, I think I will answer that.
Yeah.
For me, I will listen. I will listen in the smart pegulingan. I will listen the gangsa, because in gangsa you can clearly hear the lowest note, which is dong or ding.
Yeah.
If like when we just hear the trompong, for example, there is geginaman in the beginning. There is no gangsa, only the trompong. Trompong is the riong things. And then if it just the trompong play, I will not realize what pattern is that. Yeah, when the gangsa play, I will realize, oh that's the tembung. Oh, they play selisir.
Because
because
I'm just trying to understand like am I correct when I say that in Sema Pegulingan, the gangsa, they don't have an octave, right? They only have the seven note. They don't like in a gongkebiar, gangsa, it has 2 octaves basically. But Sema Pegulingan does not, right?
Yeah, only one.
So that's how it's a bit easier when you're listening to gangsa in Sema Pegulingan.
Yeah. Yeah, you there?
Sorry, you lost me there. I had a little. I'm coming
Yeah,
back.
I think when I will listen, so because what the note they play, for example, if they play down and then they sound, and then I will realize that if they play down or then, but of course you have to listen the whole five mode.
The five notes. Sorry. Yeah. Because I think like what you're saying is important. Like the relationship of where the note skips in the scale is important, because that's what tells you the difference. Like where it is in the scale is basically how you can tell a bit different. I think, right? I'm getting it right.
Yeah.
I'm interested. There was a
Hello?
There was a
Oh,
question.
sorry.
I'm curious. Is there like I remember someone told me a bit about this. Like different notes have different pandé, for example. Pandé, for our listeners, are the people making the gamelan. Different pandé will maybe say like that a certain note has a certain emotion or a certain feeling. Like, is there like different pate, or like, for example, for us in Western music, like we'll say like this scale feels a bit sadder, this scale feels more happy, this scale feels more like, we'll associate emotions to different scales or different tonality. And I'm curious, like in the different pate, do they have associations in like culturally speaking?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a good question. So before that, I will ask you: do you feel angklung is sad? You feel angklung is
I know where you're going with this, because I know, but this is a very good point that you're making. Because for most Westerners, I think that we would say the opposite, that angklung sounds quite happy and joyous. But I know that you're going to say something else.
Yeah, I think because in my culture in Bali is when I hear the angklung, I more more feel sad because the situation, and then I like already inside that situation, and then I lose someone, and then I heard that mode or that scale you call it. So yeah, I because of the culture, I feel that sad. But if you play angklung with the kebiar, it's like now people play angklung kebiar, it's more like happy, and I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's interesting,
but
because
sometimes to follow the gong kebiar.
I think like it's interesting because I mean, just to specify for people, because it's kind of what we were saying is that basically angklung in Bali is associated with funerals, and so that's why you're saying like it makes you sad, it makes you think about losing someone and stuff like that. So it's absolutely right. Like culture is everything in those association, right? So actually, this is, yes, I can play a piece of someone just to make the point. I'm just gonna go. Give me a second. I just want to.
Cette semaine, à Recyc TV, ma recette de pâté chinois enfin révélée. Ouf.
I just want people to hear a bit angklung, just to understand what we're talking about.
Maybe can you play angklung kekentangan maybe, because it's more creation.
Oh yeah. Let me try to find something. Let me just try to find something that's a bit more traditional.
Yeah, the first one maybe.
The first one, yeah. Oh, the nice intro. That's interesting, right? Because for us, like this sounds very happy. Yeah, I mean, I've always found that being very fascinating. The difference, like how, particularly on Klung, because it's so striking, but how we perceive the sounds, right? How closely linked it is to our heritage, right? I'm curious, like for you, actually, this is an interesting question. When you hear a piece, like I don't know, like a Western classical piece that is in a minor scale. Do you hear the sadness, or do you hear it as something completely different? Like let's say you're listening to, I don't know, Mozart in a very like minor, like the Mozart Requiem or something like that. Like, do you hear? How do you perceive it?
I think sometimes I get it when the minor I will feel sad because there are a lot of pop song that use
that's true, right?
That use minor.
Right. Yeah, that's right. So that's kind of a bit of like a social training there.
Yeah.
Interesting. But I'm curious, like to come back to what I was asking initially, like in terms of like the pate of the pelog, are there associations? Like are there not necessarily emotions, but like are there specific association for different, for like let's say the three basic like Silisir, Tembung and Sunaren, do they evoke different emotions or different aspects for you?
Yeah, for the patet, yeah. For me, when people play Slisir, is more like kebiar, like what I said before, kebiar, so more energetic. And then if people play Tembung, it's more like the king, heavy, something like that.
Interesting.
When
heavy
Tembung, and then when the baru or slendro drogang is more sad. And that's the common thing, but depend the melody and depend the ornamentation that you use. Then also in Balinese theory, there are the knowledge for that, like not knowledge, the name for the note, what to say, like when you play dang, because in Balinese we use dang for the kale motif when people trance. Kerauhan. So it's more like sacred, and
that actually that's interesting. Like, I was going to ask about that, because I've heard people talking about like specific notes have specific association Like one note is considered more feminine. I don't remember which one, to be honest. Like I've heard different version from different people. But like when you start a melody on ding, for example, or when you start a melody on dong, it will have different like connotations or different aspects to it.
Yeah. For dong, I guess dong. So we put the note as the how you say it. So I think dung in the note, and I'm not sure. Maybe I will check it later. So dung in the note. So dung is the Deva of the dung, not Pak Dewa, the Deva, the god. The god of the dung is Vishnu. So where is it in the north? And also for dong in the middle, in the central of the so dong is the in the central. So when we make the composition for the, like for example, Bapang Durga, so the gong of the melody in dong. So they decided the gong in dong. So it make like feel like sacred, something like that. Dong. They put those notes in the gong. So it make people say it's like sacred. But of course depend how is the melody for me. But
it's interesting.
It's one of other parameter to make the melody.
I remember this summer I was having a conversation with some different gamelan people. I was in San Francisco, and I remember at some point we were talking, and I don't remember exactly, like I don't want to misquote, so I'm not going to say, like, I'm just going to give a vague example, but that a Balinese composer was saying that he preferred, not preferred, but his favorite note to start a melody on was dang. Like that was like, he always liked doing melody that starts on, and do you have a favorite note, Arya? Do you have do you prefer to start melody? Do you have a, or are you too modern for that?
I think depends. I love all of the notes, but for Balinese, like traditional composition, let's say traditional composition, they will choose the same note as the beginning and as the last of their piece. That's the way Balinese composer make a composition as well.
So they start and end with the same note, right? There's a lot of Western composers that do that as also. So I mean, keep that in mind. It's interesting to see those parallel.
Like back to the ground.
Let me just see. I'm looking at to see if there's any other interesting question that we might want to riff on a bit. There's different. If people want to write in some questions, also, if there's anything before we move on. Just see. Laurent had a. This is an interesting question. I'm not sure if there's a clear answer. Maybe it'll be a personal answer for you, but from Laurent, who asks what kind of notation you would use for an unusual kotekan. Like if you needed to write down something that would be considered an unusual, like non-traditional, how do you go about that? Like I've seen your papers, like I've seen how you write down some of your stuff, but like I don't know if that's just you or if that's
okay. like for the unusual kotekan, if that still gong kebiar, I will use ding dong, because it's easier to me for me to sing and then to read the notation. So yeah, like unusual, like if you say unusual, is for me is just the rhythm is different, or just the interlocking is different, but the note is the same. But if you use, like for example, Deva use make like more than, like no more than 10 note, I guess.
Yeah,
So
I think the
if he
last
make
was
like
12
more
notes or
than,
something like that.
yes, yeah. So like more than 7 notes. So you cannot, of course, you cannot notate them with ding dong notation, like traditional notation. So it's better if you use the numbers for that.
Right. Yeah. And that's interesting. Like, is there, I guess that's something that we can talk about at another point where we maybe go more into rhythm. But like what you said is interesting. What's unusual is probably more the rhythm or the interlocking. Like, do you notate that in some way? Like, if you need to remember it, what do you do about that? The rhythm, or if it's an unusual interlocking like pattern, like how do you?
Yeah, I noted the rhythm as well. When you see the line on the top of the note.
Yeah.
So that's mean the value of the in the one note, in the one beat. Sorry.
Okay, let me just see if I can bring that back up just for reference. And if I go to, this is more. So when you're talking about, I'm not sure if I'm looking at. I'm trying to see. I'm looking at
the line.
You had something here, like you mean like
no, on the top, yeah.
Oh, the line on the top, you mean? Okay.
Yeah, the line on the top, yeah. So yeah, that's kind of kotekan, I think. Do down do. Yeah, that's like how we notate the rhythm on the Balinese notation.
So the can you explain a bit? Like obviously the dots are, I guess, simple
space, yeah, beat, or you don't play the note.
Yeah, empty beats, basically.
Empty. And then the second note at the end of the beat. To and something like that. Yeah. So yeah, I think the same, like Western notation.
I'm just trying to
also
understand.
If there is three note in one line, so it's mean triplet.
Oh, I understand. Okay.
It's 4 is 8
okay,
notes,
yeah, I understand. So like 2 notes in one line is basically in the same beat, is what you're saying.
Yeah, in same beat. Yeah.
Ah, I get it. That's okay. That makes sense. Yeah, so all of this is basically, okay, I get it.
All of them is 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, there is 13 bit at the 2 X.
Yeah. Very interesting. So I'm just looking to see if there's another. What is this here? There's 2 lines.
Oh, which one?
Do you see here? This.
Oh, when you play, how you call that? I forgot. No, something like that. No, tendolang. I forget for that.
transition notes or like passage notes. Yeah, I see you have like 3. It's very.
Yeah.
What about 2
I've been-
lines like this here? There's 2 lines here. I guess it's just double, right?
Yeah, double. Uh-huh.
Huh.
It's double. Yeah. And then how you call that? How you call that? When you there's notation like that. I know I know in French, but I forgot.
Let me just make you bigger. Let me see. Okay. When it's someone in the chat will say it. It's
Yeah. It's in my
like
French class. I forgot.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's interesting. And just while we're looking at the sheet music, because I'm curious.
Yeah. It's mean you close the note.
You close the note. Yeah, that's what I thought. What about these? Like when there's that line underneath. What does that mean?
Oh, okay. This when you play. How to explain that? When you play without a tempo, like the free tempo, when you play perang-rang, something like that. No,
Oh, okay.
How you say that? Sorry, I don't know the vocabulary in Western music. I just learned transpose, trademark, the song. That's what I don't know. Not yet.
So it's like basically when it just I don't know how you would say it. I guess well, like you say, when the beat, when you're not following the beat anymore, right?
Yeah, you will find it when there is a perang-rang or the suling. Yeah, that's why suling.
So how can you sing? Yeah. Just out to be curious, can you sing that part? Or play it on the suling? Actually, you have a suling with you. I'm curious just to see.
Something like that.
Yeah. I understand. Yeah. So in the chat, they said unmetered is the word we were looking for. I think. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Just like it just going. Yeah. Huh. Well, I'm happy I learned something I did not know tonight.
I hope I speak clear.
Okay, well, we've been going on for like an hour and 45 minutes now, so I think this is a good, because I feel that otherwise we just start talking about a completely different subject. I wanted to talk about rhythm and all that kind of stuff, like conception of rhythm, and there's a bunch of interesting stuff that we could go on, but I think the best is just to stop here on this subject, and then we do another one and we talk more about rhythm, I guess. There's a lot of subject I think we have to that we can discuss about in the coming weeks. So
okay,
yeah, I think this is good. Is there anything you think? I'm going to give one last chance if people want to ask a question in the chat. Just know that there's a bit of a delay between when we receive the question and when you hear us and when I ask. So I'm going to wait a little bit just to see if there's anything that pop up. But otherwise, Arya, is there anything else that you think we should talk or that we should mention? Do you have a question for me?
What do you feel, Pierre, when you play music without the notation? Just random question.
That's interesting. Like, I think I feel that when I mean, I've been playing like mostly without notation now for a while because I've been playing gamelan more than anything other. Like since I finished my music degree like 10 years ago. I think the only real music that I played, apart from some underground stuff or some electronic music, like has been gamelan. The formal music that I've been playing is gamelan. So I've been playing without notation for quite some time now. But I think like for me, the fact that we don't use notation, it makes me connect a bit more with like sort of, sometimes there's a lot of very complicated there's a lot of complicated rhythms sometimes in gamelan that if we try to understand them too much, or if I've never been particularly good with complicated like contemporary rhythm on paper, but if I'm learning them, like in your piece, for example, the piece that you started writing for us just before this hiatus began, like there's a lot of places where the rhythm is a bit like unusual, but because I'm playing it without notation, I'm just concentrating on understanding where are mes repères, where are my points of reference and what I can remember. It helps actually quite a bit, and I think that playing gamelan that way has improved. Now I can, because I've had to in different occasions, even for the gamelan, go back and look at more complicated rhythms on paper, and I actually understand them better now because of having gone through that process with the gamelan. I think it's interesting. Yeah. So
Interesting. I think people also answering the question.
I think it is. It's interesting to have like that kind of like. I think I suspect that for a lot of people, gamelan is interesting because of that. Because maybe they struggle a bit with notation, and it doesn't mean that they're bad musicians. It's just that they struggle with that form of musical transmission. And gamelan allows you to play very complex, very sophisticated melodies and rhythms without needing that kind of knowledge. I think it's probably a bit of the reason why a lot of people gravitate or stay anyway within the. Let's see. There's a couple of things that came in. Yeah, I think actually what Sarah says something in the chat, which is very accurate for me as well, is that I remember gamelan pieces much longer than, and even I would say even music, like when I was studying composition at the university, and I did piano classes as a side instrument class, and I would memorize some of the music that I was playing on the piano, but like today, if you ask me to play one of these pieces that I used to play, like some of them I remember bits and pieces, but they're nothing compared to if you start playing a piece of gamelan that Giri played maybe like 7 years ago. Like even, for example, recently we relearned with the group Satrian Lumaku. Satrian Lumaku by Paktrip was the first piece that I learned when I joined Giri. Wow. Eric Vandal was showing the piece to Giri at that point, and we played it for a couple of years, and then when Deva got here, we slowly stopped playing it for other pieces that Deva was showing us. So I didn't play it for like maybe something like that, 7-8 years, something around. And when we started playing it again, like so many parts of it just, whoops, I remember that piece. I haven't played it for 7 years, and I remember that piece, because I learned it that way. Also, maybe because when I learned it, I was playing the melody. I was on the chalong at the time. And so I remembered the melody from the chalong and made it easier to remember. So I think that's very interesting. Like, but if you ask me to do the same thing with music that I learned on the piano, I need my sheet music at that point. Even if I remembered it, even if I learned it by heart way back then, today I need my sheet music to remember that. I'm probably still able to play, but I need my sheet music. So it's interesting. Like it's much easier to remember.
Do you usually also remember for the story. Like for me, when I play, for example, Tabuh Gari, I will remember when I was in my uncle maison. Say my uncle.
Yeah.
So yeah, I will remember quand j'ai marché dans le rice field.
Dans les rizières.
I I fell there, and then yeah, I remember that story with Tabugari in the
Interesting.
at the
Because
like,
why with Tabugari?
I know maybe in that I was learning there that piece.
I guess
Yeah.
so at the time.
I
Yeah,
will-
yeah. You see,
Yeah.
Tabugari is another piece that it's one of the first piece I learned also when I joined Giri. It was one of the pieces that we were playing back then. And I always wanted to do it again with the group because it has this place in my memory. I remember liking it a lot. I was playing Suling, and it had a very nice. It has a very nice trombone Suling melody to it, and yeah, I like Tabugari.
Yeah, that's cool for me. Like when I play Tabugari, I will laugh alone, like because I remember at that time. Always when I play Tabugari, it's like when you get there, my head will be like, oh, the story here. I don't know why. What happened with that?
I'm curious. Let's see. We have maybe we can just elaborate a little bit more on, because I think there's a couple of people that are. I saw a couple of questions. Like I'll pull this one up here, but something that you touched about, like if we can see how they how notes. We talked about like the association of notes with gods, like you were saying with dong, sacred. But there's also, I think I remember hearing this, and this is what that person is pointing out, association to different cardinal directions, like the north, the east, the west, and the south. Can you tell us a bit about that, about the notes in relation to that?
Yeah,
as a piece of trivia.
I don't. Yeah, I don't exactly remember the note and then where is it in the direction. So I think people we got that concept from how you call that, ejector, lontar, ejector, no,
The lontar is
lontar, the like the book, but not book, like we
the lontar is
we write something in the leaf.
Yeah. The lontar is basically a dried leaf that is used a bit like a manuscript in the older days, or a papyrus, or that kind of old for us, for the West, the ways of notating. So
yeah. I think Imade Bandam transcribed the from lontar to the books. That's why we know about that concept.
Okay, so
it's not people.
That concept. Okay.
Yeah.
So it would come from like lontar and.
Yeah.
Interesting. So it's actually pretty old, basically. It would have to be at that point. Very interesting.
Yeah, but I don't remember exactly the where is it the note. Maybe next time I will.
It's interesting. We can add some precision comments. Yeah. I'm just reading through a couple of the other final. Yeah. Okay. So I think we've gone through pretty much all of the main questions that I saw. It's very good. So I'm very happy. I think particularly these last couple of questions that we've had, it's been very interesting to chat with you. I think this is something that we need to do a bit more in the coming weeks in this kind of show. So
Yeah.
Thank you, Arya, for joining me and for having this
My pleasure.
discussion.
Thank you.
We're very happy
Yeah.
to have you with us, and it's a lot of it's nice to be able to exchange on these things. I am going to say to the rest of to our audience, basically, please like the video if you're on YouTube in particular. That kind of helps us grow. Subscribe to our channel if it's not already done, and leave comments. Basically, tell us what you think about this new thing that we're trying. If you're watching it live today, but also if you're someone that's watching it on another day, and I'm curious to know what you think. I mean, this is a new thing that we're doing right now. We kind of have to figure this out, right? Have to figure this whole situation out together. So I think if feeding off what people give us as feedback, comments, we're going to strive to improve this this thing that we're doing now every week, and hopefully keep on providing people with interesting subject. I'm not sure yet exactly what next week will be about. Maybe I'll have Arya again to keep on going on with this discussion about rhythm. Maybe I'll have someone else as well. Maybe we'll do an alternating, trying to see, not just to do long stretches with the same person all the time. So we'll see. We still have to discuss this offline, but we'll keep you posted. We'll put the info out on our Facebook page, on YouTube, as always. And I guess on that note, friends, musicians, thank you for listening.
Yeah.